All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Today is the fourth day of the week. We're learning Parshas Vayigash and its explanation in the holy book, which is called Torah, Ohr, written by the first Rebbe of Chabad, Rebbe Shneur Zalman, about 150 years ago. 150 years ago, 160 years ago. And as we've spoken about before, it's designed to show us that everything that's in the Torah is inside of us. And that the reason we're here, the reason that we are created, and the reason we exist, and the reason that we're alive is in order to connect ourselves to real, true meaning. And the most meaningful thing is to fix up the world, not to stay inside of ourselves, but to make the world a human place, and then to make the world a blessed place, and finally to make the world a godly place, a holy place. And we we can't do it on our own, of course, and God will help us, but God wants exactly that, to help us. He wants us to do something. We have to do something, and the something that we do, even though to God it might seem to be very small, but to us it's a very big accomplishment, right? To hold yourself back from doing what's forbidden in the Torah and to force yourself to do what is obligated in the Torah, and to make up your mind the things that are optional in the Torah, if you can do them in a holy way, in a proper way. Okay, here we go. So let's take an example of something that's inside of us. It says that Yosef, one of the characters in the last few weeks that we've learned is Yosef. Yosef was the son of Yaakov. And in a way, he was the whole purpose. Well, he was the whole goal of Yaakov. Jacob. One minute. There we go. If you remember in the Bible tells us that Judaism had three forefathers, four, F-O-R-E, forefathers. We talked about this before, but really the father of Judaism in a way is Moses. Moses, he gave birth to the Jewish people. He's the father. He took them out of the womb, took them out of Egypt, and he brought them up, led them through the desert, took them to the Mount Sinai, gave them the Torah, right? Like a father. He takes care of his children. He looks after them. He provides for them. He teaches them. He educates them. He's an example for them, good example. That's what Moses did. So Moses was the father. But Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they were actually the fathers. I guess maybe that's why they call them the forefathers. They were before the father. I don't know. In any case, they were the fathers of Judaism, even though that they lived before Moses. They lived before Moses. No, the Yaakov passed away way before Moses was born. How long? 200 years, 300 before Moses was born. But nevertheless, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are the forefathers of Judaism. Why? Because they set the whole tone of what Judaism is, how Judaism is different than all of the other ways of trying to serve God. Moses, he gave the Torah. Other religions also have their Bibles. They have their stories there. This truly did big miracles. But Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they contributed to the soul of every Jew. They made the soul of every Jew different. And what is the soul? The soul basically is broken into three categories, and that is love and fear and faith. What you desire, what you want to do. Fear is what you want to change. You don't want it to be there. You want to change it. Either you want to run away from it, or you want to change this thing. And that's what Yitzchak did. He dug wells. He changed the world. But then there's Yaakov. Yaakov is faith, and Yaakov, in a way, is the man. His name was changed to Yisrael, and the Jewish people are called Bnei Yisrael. were all the sons. He had the 12 tribes. Okay. Yaakov, if you learn the Bible, so it says very interesting that Yaakov really wanted to get married to only one wife. He wanted to have only Rachel. That's who he wanted to get married to. And Lavan, Rachel's father, tricked him because Rachel had an older sister. And so he tricked him and he changed places. And in the nighttime, the wedding night, he exchanged. How Yaakov didn't notice it is a different story, but nevertheless, he didn't notice it. And he has all these other tribes and all these other children, beautiful children, Reuven and Levi and Yehuda. He has them all from Leah. 6 children he has from Leah, and 4 children he has from the handmaids, Bilhah and Zilpah, and 2 children he has from Rachel. Those were the really ones that he wanted. The special one was Yosef. Okay, so Yosef gets down to Egypt. His brothers sell him, and he becomes and it ends up it's only for the good. It's only for the good. Yosef keeps his spirits up. He thinks positively, and in the end, the impossible happens. I mean, no one could think that positively. Yosef actually becomes the king of the whole entire world, the de facto ruler of the whole entire world. I mean, you don't get a thing like that. There's no such thing like that today. It's a rule of the whole world. Maybe there's people that are trying. Who knows? Those conspiracy theories, whatever they're, actual realities, whatever they are. But in any case, Yosef, in fact, becomes the ruler, the king of the whole world, and he has all the money in the world. So it says, how did he get all the money in the world? Because he interpreted Pharaoh's dream. Pharaoh had this dream and he couldn't interpret it, and he couldn't get proper interpretations. And Pharaoh sensed that this was a monumental, earth-shaking dream. And finally, he found out there's one person that maybe can interpret the dream, and that is Yosef, who is presently a prisoner. And he takes Yosef out and he says, interpret the dream. And Yosef says, there's going to be 7 years of plenty, and then there's going to be 7 years of famine, and the plenty years, don't eat up the food, store it up. And you're going to see that it's going to save the whole world. And sure enough, it does. Everybody comes to Egypt. They say, we haven't got any food. So Pharaoh says, sell yourselves to me. You and all your properties and everything you've got, and yourselves, you sell yourselves to me. Everyone in the world was slaves to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh says, and who is the real ruler? I am the ruler in name. You cannot call anyone else the king except for me. But in fact, Yosef he's the one that's calling all the shots. Yosef is telling whatever, and he says no one could lift up their hand or their foot in all of Egypt unless Yosef knew about it. Yosef had to give the okay. Okay, so Yosef ends up has all this money. What are you going to do with all the money in the world? Huh? What are you going to do with all the money in the world? You're a billionaire, you're a trillionaire, you're a quadrillionaire. Yosef was an everythingaire. He owned everything. So he couldn't make more money. He had all the money. What could he do with all of it, right? How many cars can you buy? How many steaks can you eat? How much pleasure can you have? You know what? So what's he going to do with all the money? So it says he stored up the money. Now, if you remember, we learned a sikha from the Rebbe that when the Jews left Egypt, they took the money with them. Why? Because the idea was not the money. The idea was the sparks of meaning that are in that money. Remember, we learned about that. God makes a world, and he didn't make the world just, to make a world, to give physicists or whatever a job, to give them a livelihood. Or theorists or professors, they could stand and talk about the Big Bang Theory. That's what to talk about. No, God made the world. Not only did, according to Hasidus, God is making the world right now. Because everything in the world has a purpose, a use. And that use, excuse me, I'm sorry. That use is a spark of meaning. Where did the use come from? Come from God. So everything has life in it, namely the utility of that thing. And that's the life force which is in that thing. So that life force can be used for good, or it can be used for not bad, or it can be used for nothing. So the job of the Jewish people is, among other jobs, is to make this world a meaningful and, like we said, a blessed and eventually even a holy place. And that is by utilizing everything in the world the way God wants, or in language of Kabbalah, raising up the sparks. That thing of meaning and utility, which is found in everything. That's the life spark in the thing. As soon as the thing becomes unusable, so you throw it in the garbage. So you have a table, you have a chair, you have a pencil, you have this. All these things have a utility to them. What are you going to use it for? So Yosef, of course, the main thing that is use is money. With money, you can buy all these other things. So you can take money, you can do terrible things with it. You can do good things with it. And so Yosef took out by taking out the money. So he took it out from Egypt. Had no plans to do good. They didn't even know what good was. Good is what feels good. So Egypt had plans to use the money for whatever they wanted to, to build big, who knows, theaters or who knows, terrible, terrible places. So Yosef, though, took the money, and the Jews would use this now for holy things. They would use it to provide for the world, to build the holy temple. It's okay. But there was too much money. How much money could a person have? He had all the money. So it says Yosef took all the money that was in Egypt, and Yosef took the kesef into the house of Paro. He and Omer Rizal, the rabbi, say, Shlosh mat manios yitmin Yosef. Yosef hid three hidden treasures. In addition to what the Jews took out of Egypt. It says the Jews took out of Egypt all the treasures that the people knew about, that the people owned. And then when Paro sent out his soldiers to destroy the Jews, he thought they were trapped in Yam Suf, and Red Sea, before the sea split. So all the soldiers got decked out, right? They all put on their best glinglings or whatever they had, and rings and golden shoes, because they figured they're going to have a real big party. They're going to kill all the Jews, and they're going to have what to be happy about. And it ended up that was the opposite. They all drowned in the sea, and all the riches were washed up on the other side of the sea. It says that the riches that they took were even greater than what the Jews took out of Egypt. And all of it washed up, the Jews got even more rich. Okay, but that was what was revealed. But there were three hidden treasures. Shlosh matmonios, there are three hidden treasures Yosef hid. Achas, one of them is revealed to Korach. Korach in the desert, right? How he revealed it, I don't know. Maybe he hid it in the desert. You have to look it up. I don't know. Korach made a big war against Moses, and everybody listened to him. And one reason that everybody listened to him, even though Korach did not do anything that Moses did anywhere near, he didn't split the sea, didn't do any of the, didn't receive the Torah, didn't take them out of Egypt, but he was rich. If you're rich, you have money, you took us out of Egypt, and you can sing good, and you can dance good, and you can do anything. You're rich, you're the best in the world. What a beautiful voice you have, such a wonderful, how you can dance. I don't believe the kid. He's got a voice like a crow, and he dances like a worm. Nothing, that doesn't make any difference. If he's rich, he's the greatest. That's what life is. Korach was that way. Korach, it says, there's even a saying, rich like Korach. In other words, Korach had tremendous riches. Where did he get it from? He found one of these hidden treasures that Yosef had. There's a saying that goes that if you want to know what God thinks about money, look at the people who he gives it to, right? The people who are the multimillionaires are usually the most debauched people. Not always, it's true, not always, but it's a, how do you say, it's a principle with a basis. Okay, here we go. So Korach had all this money. He had one of these hidden treasures. Achas, one is Antoninus. One of them was Anthony with Cleopatra and Antoninus. He ruled over the world. Okay. But Achas, and one of them, Ganuza l'tzadikim l'tzalabo. And one of them is hidden for the tzadikim in the future. In the gathering of with the raising of the dead, I don't know. What are they going to need money for in the future? What people are going to need the money for, right? Tzaddikim. But here is another good reason to be a big tzaddik and learn Torah. You get a lot of money. You get money. No, I'm just joking. It's not so. What are the tzaddikim going to do with all this money? What are they going to do? So obviously, if we go according to what we said before, this money is sparks of meaning, of holiness, of blessing. and it can be used for good or for bad. Goes without saying that Korach used it for bad. Antoninus did not use it for good, even though it says that Antoninus was a good friend of Rabbi Yehuda. Hanasi. So that was okay. So he had also, so he used it, let's say, for in the middle, but the tzaddikim in the future are going to use it for good. Lahavin, let's understand this. What is these treasures? Hine kasiv, it says, or zerul tzaddik. What are the tzaddikim going to do with this money? What do they need the money for? So the answer is here. It says that now this is not so easy, to tell you the truth, and I hope that I'm explaining this properly, but let's go. Up to this point, I did okay, but now you're going to see. It says, or zerul tzaddik, that God plants light, or he plants it for the tzaddik, for the righteous Jews. Now, what does it mean, a righteous Jew? A righteous Jew is a Jew. It says that all the Jews are righteous. Some potential, some actual. What does it mean? A righteous Jew is a person that feels that he's being created by God. And he feels that everything in the world is being created by God. And he feels that everything is being created by God for a purpose. And he, every instant, fulfills this purpose. He learns Torah, he does good deeds, he prays, he gives charity, does the commandments, but he does it with love, with fear, with awe. That's a tzaddik, every second of his life. And there's different degrees of this, of course. There's different degrees of tzaddik. Okay, Shalom Paul. Oh, you do, it's known, the Hainu, Bechinas, or there's this light. Light. Now, light is a very interesting thing because it says that the world, and the first thing that God created was light. God said, let there be light. Or kadma. This is the primordial light, the light which was before the world, the Habin Nahir that was shining Miseifa Alma from the one end of the world, at Seifa Alma to the other end of the world. The Ganis Kodesh Baruch Hu, the God hid this light for the tzaddikim. Look at Rashi over there. It says that God saw the light and it was good. What does it mean it was good? It was good to hide for the tzaddikim, for the holy people, because God created light on the first day, but he only created the sun and the moon on the fourth day. There was no illuminaries. So it says this is a different type of light. This is some sort of a spiritual awareness of the creator of the universe that God hid for the tzaddikim. Why does he have to hide it? Let's go. Here we go. This is one of the hidden treasures of Yosef. Inyan Ganiza. Just one more thing. How could Yosef be the king over all of Egypt, over the whole world? He knew everything that was going on in the whole entire world. Paro said, no one can do anything. You can't lift up your hand. You can't get on your horse unless Yosef gives the okay. Okay, so he had emissaries and he had representatives and he had policemen, secret policemen. Even if you had surveillance cameras everywhere, how can one person survey everybody? Yosef, how can he rule over Egypt? Not only that, it says that Egypt was the most debauched, most decadent country in the world. Egypt and Canaan, it says. They were the most decadent countries in the world. Yosef was the most holy person in the world at that time, the holiest person, the choice son of Jacob, the ultimate Jew. What's he doing at a place like that? Not only that, he ruled over it. So Yosef, it ends up, was tremendously connected to God. And God, of course, is creating everybody. So Yosef was connected to God and he knew all these secrets. It says that the Paro called him Tzafnat Paneach. Paneach means also to explain what's Safon, what's hidden. Tzafnas means it's hidden. Paneach, he explained. So Yosef was a tremendously holy person. So Yosef, he brought into the world these different awarenesses of the creator of the universe. And that's the three treasures that he hid. In Korach, he just used the external part of it. The same thing with Antoninus, actual money. But the tzaddikim, they'll get the sparks of holiness, they'll get the meaning. Here it goes. That's what he hid. That's the light that God hid when he created the world. Now let's understand this. Hine Bavod Hashem, in the service of God, there's two types of love. One of them is V'chinas Ahava Anolda V'nimshacha Minas Bonus. One of them is love that comes from thinking about the greatness of God. Sheyamik besichel, you think in your mind, barom muskadolos. This is relevant to everybody, so listen carefully. You think about the greatness of God. Yolid mizeh gives birth from this. His palus, excitement, emotions. Bechchuka v'islavus, with a desire and a burning for God. According to a person's intellect, that's how a person praises the creator. Shamidos, that the emotions come from intellect. Vidbonanut, and thinking. Right? Let's take the example. There's a lot of examples. But one thing, let's take the example in elections, right? In America, they have the elections. Other places, they have the elections. What do? The one, everybody's pushing his candidate. So they come out and they say, right, it's Kennedy against who? I don't even remember who Kennedy was against. Stevenson. I don't remember. They say, Kennedy, you know what this man is? This is the biggest genius. This is the most amazing person. He is helping you. He saved us. He did these wonderful things. He's giving his money to charity. If he has more money, he'll give it all out to you. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So everybody votes for him. Yeah, he's a nice guy. I see he's a nice guy. The other side says, what are you talking about? He's a liar. He's a cheater. Suddenly you realize, no, the ones who are saying bad things, they're liars. And really, Kennedy, he is the greatest of all of them. He is the wonderful, and we will vote for him. And his detractors are all enemies. Okay, now let's do the same thing with God. God is creating you. God is giving you life. God is providing for you. God will answer all your prayers, right? That's one candidate. Then the other candidate. The whole thing is a lie. It's a bluff. It's only for people that are crippled psychologically. They need a crutch. There's no such thing as God. Everything goes according to nature, the evolution, and then what is the cycle, of food cycle, and this and that. And it's all not. So you start to think, what is really true? What is all of a sudden you start to realize, hey, God is really real. And these people who are detracting from God, they're liars. They don't know. They don't know. You start to think about God. God is really keeping. Now let's think about this reality, right? Who am I going to vote for? Okay, in the case of Kennedy, you go and you vote, and that's it. Here you're talking about that God is really keeping me alive now, right? If I vote for this president of the United States, so he gets in the White House, and then I trust that he'll do what I voted for. Right? I trust. But with God, it's not that way. God is always doing. He's always helping. All he wants is a little appreciation. That's all he wants, appreciation. When you start to appreciate God, right? All of a sudden it becomes, 1 second. That's you really, are you joking? God is really creating me? It's a lie. That's from the detractors, right? What do you talk? God is creating me. God is enlivening me. What are you talking about? His God is enlivening me. I don't see any God. I don't see. You look at all these birds, all these flowers, all these. God is enlivening them too. Come on, yes. So then you said, 1 second. Maybe this is really true. Listen, that's called hitbonanut. You think deeply. You contemplate. Could it really be true that I am being created right now? Could this be true? Doesn't make any sense. It's much more, how do you say, fun not to think about it. Just go along. You just let your life. You stop and you think, is this God is really creating me? God really exists. Not only exists, he's creating all existence. This really, the more you think about it, and it becomes real, not theoretically. We're not talking about theoretically. Theoretically, it's a nice idea. When it becomes real and a person really feels it, right, then it gives birth to love. Wow, I have a lot of gratitude to God. Thank you very much. This is holada chadasha. It's a brand new thing you're giving birth to. Shenimsa michadash. It's brand new by means of your intellect and your understanding. Huh? That's one type of love. Love which comes from logic, understanding. Right? It's the same exact logic you use to vote for Kennedy or for Trump or whatever you want to vote for. And you think about it, is it really true? The people who are speaking against him are liars, and the people who are speaking for him are saying the truth, and he really is good, and he really is. It's the same exact intellect. The difference is the topic is different. Here we're talking about a person, and the person is separate from me. And after I vote for him, he's separate. And here we're talking about that God is not separate from me. And he's doing all these wonderful things before I even vote for him. All he wants is that I should appreciate him. That's all God wants. But it's the same intellect that's used, right? Here the people, every time they see Kennedy or whoever it is comes out, Abraham Lincoln, they get out and they cheer. He's my man. I voted for him. He did what I said, right? But we're supposed to feel God all the time. So at least once in a while, think about it, because God, unlike these presidents of the United States, is totally concealed from us. He's totally concealed. He enlivens us, he creates us, but we can't see it and we can't feel it. So we have to think about it. With the president, you can check up on him. It's possible to check up to see, is he really doing what he's supposed to do? But the God he's always doing it. He just wants some appreciation. In order to do this, we have to think deeply. So God is concealed from us, and we have to think deeply. But the same intellect that we're using to vote for the president, the same intellect, we just reveal something that, so to speak, is outside of us. It's hidden from us. It's hidden from us. It's not, and we think about it and we appreciate God and we love God. He's so close to us. He's so good to me. So this, then there's another type of a love. And this love is almost totally, let's say for our purposes, especially for the Jewish people. This love is what's called ahava mesuteret. This love is a hidden love. The first type of love is because the facts are concealed from us. The facts. We don't feel that God is creating us. We don't feel that God is enlivening us. We don't feel that God is providing for us, that he's answering our prayers. We don't feel these things. We don't feel it, right? We don't feel it. The fact is concealed from us. But as soon as we reveal the fact, then we have love. There's a second type where the love is concealed from us. The fact is not concealed. The love is there. It's a deep, internal, infinite love that every Jew has for God. Automatically, he doesn't have to think. You have to think to reveal this love. We'll see. This is a love. B'teva told us a nefesh alukis, which is found in the nature of the godly soul. That's what makes a Jew a Jew. There's this natural, infinite love for God. That for this, he's even willing to give his life for God. Even the most non-religious Jew in the world, he just has to reveal this. This is the nature and the desire, the kalel b'or ein sof, to be included in the infinite light of God. That this is the source of the soul. But this love is concealed. So the first type of love is that you create the love. You start to appreciate God, you appreciate him, and then you come to really value him and to really to be appreciative, right, of the Creator. Gratitude. Thank you, God, for all the things that you did. But it's not naturally there. It's by means of you realizing a fact. The fact is that God is really creating me, he's really enlivening me. That fact was concealed from me. Now I reveal that I love God, right? Same thing as the president. Now I reveal how good Abraham Lincoln is. I'm going to vote for him. But the other is something that's only special to the Jewish people, and that is that every Jew is connected to the essence of God and his essence. That's what it says. The Jews are the sons of God. Every Jew is the son of God. Bani matem l'Hashem Elokecha explains in the second chapter of the Tanya. Look in the Tanya. You can see it in English. You can look it up. Tanya from the Chabad Tanya in English, second chapter. This love, this is concealed. Coming from and to be revealed, this is also by thinking. You also have to think, like it says in the Tanya. And what is in the 46th chapter? The Nimsa, so it comes out when it comes to be revealed by means of thinking. It's not a new thing. That comes love. This already was in the beginning in his soul. Only it was concealed, and by means of thinking, it comes to be revealed. Let me give you an example. This is an example that most of the psychiatrists and things will disagree with, but that's because they're sick people, basically. And so now let's explain what it means that they're sick. According to Judaism, a child has a love for a father. A child, a mother, a father. Children have love for their parents. It's intrinsic, it's inborn, it's automatic. It doesn't make any difference if their parents are good to them, if they're bad for them. Children have love for their parents. If this love is not expressed, so something is missing. But children have love for parents, and parents have love for children. Parents have, in fact, parents have more love for children than children have love for parents. But let's just take this other thing. Children have an automatic love for parents. It's perhaps the deepest love that can possibly be. The deepest, most fulfilling type of love that can possibly be is a love for a child. The only thing that surpasses it, like I say, is the love of the parents to the children. But it's automatic. It's an automatic thing. A father and a son, a mother, a daughter, a father, a daughter, same thing. For parents, for their children, there is an automatic, deep, essential love. It's there. And the problem is you have to know if this person is your father or not. Right? Is your father. There's sometimes we know in today's society, especially, that the children are taught not to love their parents. That's Freud and those other sickos said you have to. The children hate their parents, right? They love their mother, hate the father. Or they say, no, you love your parents because they brought you up. They did good things for you. That's all. They provided for you, like a cat and a dog or something like that. Right? Dogs love their masters, same thing. Because they do good for them. But the fact is it's a lie. That's not so. The fact is that every child automatically loves his parents. It's a deep love. It's a necessary, integral part of the soul. It goes without saying that every person that's alive today has parents. You've got parents, huh? Everybody has parents. And part of that's the physical part, but also the spiritual part, if you want to go the psychological. Every child has love for their parents. It's a deep, infinitely deep love that's at the core of their very being. So too, every Jew has love for God, and it's even deeper in their being. The only thing is you have to recognize it. You have to recognize, just like a person has to know, this is my father, right? People have been separated from their parents for 50 years, whether they win the Holocaust, things like that, and they don't know who their parents is. I am your father. I'm revealed your father. Here's my papers. Here's my this. You were in Lodge. I was in Lodge. Your mother's name is this. My mother's. You lived in this. I'm your father. Oh, daddy hugs him, and then all of a sudden that big love becomes revealed. A different type of love. That's what the rabbis say. Nichnas yain yotze sod. That when wine comes out, secret comes out. What does it mean with sod? The secret is this love, this concealed love. And now, shiotze elagila that comes revealed by means of hitbonanut, by thinking deeply. That's called wine. That's the wine of the Torah, the secrets of the Torah. When you think deeply into who gave the Torah, it's the same God that creates me. He cares about me. When you realize you have to think about it because it's not obvious. Ube'emes ma'alat. This concealed love is much greater than the love. There this is. Excuse me for the. Here we go. This concealed love is much greater than the love which is born by means of thinking, by this, how do you say, created love. To hold up, even though this is a brand new, giving birth to something brand new. It's not known, it's not new. The source is higher. So let's say the difference between how a person loves his wife and how a person loves his mother, or how a person loves his parents, how he loves a really, really good friend. So sometimes the love for a good friend or for a person's wife can be much more revealed and deep and etc. Apparently, right? Apparently, but in fact, it's not. In fact, the love that one has for his parents is much deeper because it's rooted in the essence of your soul. Your parents gave birth to you. They were there before your friends and before your wife and before. So it is also with God. One way is appreciating God because of what God does for me, what God is. And the other one is revealing my essence, I say the identity, my essence, the essence identity of a Jew is the Jews are sons of God. The word in Hebrew for son also refers to daughter, also a son. And this love, which is because this love which is given birth by deep thinking, he lamata mimenu is below it. The natural, the hidden love which every Jew has for God is much greater than the created love that is born by means of appreciating God. Rak, but shalom nishpala kokach kamo ahava aniskreel ha misuteret. It doesn't come down so low as this hidden love. Like it says in the Tanya, that this concealed love that every Jew has for God, when it comes to be revealed, is called ahava rabba. It's called a great love, which is greater than what's called love, worldly love, ahavat olam. That comes from deep thinking. Look what it says in the, okay. So in other words, there's what's called ahava rabba, great love, infinite love, and ahavat olam, which is called world love. Wow, excuse me. Hine behold, bechinas u'madregas Yosef, this level of Yosef, Elyon, this level of Yosef, like we said, remember we said everything in the Torah is inside of us. This is this great concealed love. Sheyesh bakal nefesh miYisrael, that is in every single heart of every Jew. Gavoa me'od, very, very high. Shehu bechinas Yosef, this is the level of Yosef. This is, according to Kabbalah, this is what's called the level of Yesod. Yesod is Yud Sod. Yud Sod means the secret. There are 10 sfirot. The lowest of the 10 sfirot, of the 10 aspects of the soul, the lowest is called Malchut. Malchut, kingship. Above that is what's called Yesod. Yesod means secret. The idea of Yosef is mysterious. How can one person rule over the whole entire world? That's a big secret. How could he feel the essence of the soul of every single Egyptian? That he could control everybody. How could it be? That's a tremendous secret. But even more, Yosef is wrapped in mystery. He's not considered to be one of the fathers of Judaism. It's too deep. That's the level of Yesod. Yosef corresponds to Abraham, it says, is Chesed, and Yitzchak is Gevura, and Yaakov is Netzach, and Yosef is Yesod. And that's what Yosef brought into the world. Yosef brought into the world this awareness of this inner connection of the Jewish people to God. That's what it means, this light which is planted deeply for the tzaddik. Tzaddik is called Yesod Olam, tzaddik Yesod. Shehu bechinat Ohr44b. This is a primordial light that's concealed for the tzaddikim. So again, what is a tzaddik? A tzaddik is a person that has this inner connection to God. It's not a person that does all sorts of miracles. Not necessarily. He can do miracles also, but the main thing of a tzaddik is his inner true connection to God, that he wakes up this inner hidden love. For Ohr44b, this primordial light, which was in the first day of creation, which God concealed, this is a tremendous love, ahava rabba, that we talked about before, which is much, much higher than what's called ahavat olam, which is called world love, that you love God because he creates the world, because he creates me, because he creates the angels, he creates the spirit, he enlivens us all. There's all these reasons for loving God. And you realize all these reasons, it gives a birth to a new thing inside of yourself. Instead of loving the world, instead of loving yourself, you love God. It's giving birth to something. That's what's called avat olam. It's a love that comes from the world, from thinking. Ahava Rabbah, it's called an infinite love. This is already there. It's the essence of God. Or because light is this love, chesed, and there's chesed olam, love that comes from the world. This is a love which comes from intellect of or kadma, but this primordial or, this primordial love of God is a tremendous love which is above any understanding. And this comes from the level of God which is called Rav Chesed. The Chesed mitcha lo yamush. My kindness will never stop. This is the love of God for the Jewish people. This, in a way, is the secret of the Jewish people. Why is it that God loves the Jewish people despite the stupid things that they've been doing for the last, 2,000 years at least? You can go back further, right? Since they got out of Egypt, they worshipped the golden calf when they were in Israel with all the look at the book of Judges. Terrible. It's ridiculous. The Jews sinned, and another time God had to send a special leader to take them out and to win their battles, and then as soon as they won, they sinned again. But God always loves them. He will never stop. Lo yamush, it will never stop this love. And conversely, the love for the Jewish people for God also never stops. It's hidden for the tzaddikim in the level of Yosef. I mean, it really is quite astounding if you think about it. There's a lot of Jews in America. I mean, I'm from America, so I don't know about other people. But I'm sure in England, I know people, Russia. They're totally nothing to do with Judaism whatsoever. They're not connected in any way to any organization, to any nothing. They don't do commandments. They don't keep the holidays. They don't fast. Nothing whatsoever, but they're Jews. And they're proud that they're Jews. And they identify as Jews. And other people identify them as Jews. From what? Why in the world are they Jews? Why? Because my parents are Jews. Did your parents do anything? No, they were Bundists, they were communists, they were against everything, nothing Judaism whatsoever. They ate not kosher food. But they're Jews. What makes them Jews? I don't know. It's something deep in the soul. That's what's so bad and false about these false conversions. Because it says that a true convert is a person that always had a Jewish soul. He always had this soul that loves God. He wants to do anything God says. By making a false conversion, you're fooling him, first of all, into thinking that he's Jew, and you're fooling him to thinking that he's not a Gentile, because a Gentile also has special obligations for God, to God. That a Jew does not have, so you're fooling everybody. It's like this identity, gender identity change thing going on. A man is a woman. You're not a woman. Right? You're not a woman. You're pretending a woman. You think you're a woman. You look over. You're not a woman. They used to be, and when I was young, I remember they don't do that anymore. The classic picture of a used to have the cartoons, whatever, a person gets put into a mental institution. Everybody's walking around. They're Napoleon, right? They walk around with their hand and they're this, and they walk around they're Napoleon, but they're not Napoleon, but they think they're Napoleon. And the same thing. Here is true identity. There's no such thing in the world as true identity except for the Jews. I mean, everybody is truly a human being. That's true identity. You're a human being. That's a true identity. But a Jew, in addition to being a human being and to being a male or a female, whatever it is, right, he's a Jew. A Jew is, in a way, an eternal identity. Why? Because of this love that God has in the essence, implanted in the essence of every single Jew, and the love that's implanted in the essence of the Jewish soul for God. It's there. And it acts in the most strange ways, but in the most clearly manifested way is that these people say, no, I'm a Jew, right? Despite the fact that he does nothing externally to be Jewish, but he's a Jew. From this, it comes in each and every Jew, this love. It's just concealed and it's hidden. And when the wine goes in, he starts thinking about it, it comes out. So it comes out this secret, this deep secret, as we'll talk about what this is and how to utilize it a little bit more tomorrow. There's a big thing in the Zohar. We'll learn about the Zohar tomorrow. And now let us do the Devar Malchut.